My. There is nothing like fresh baked bread straight out of the oven. And today I'm going to show you how we make up this beauty. I'm Dr. Bliss of When I Cook, You Cook, We Cook. My business supports you and your family in making foods that you love and want to eat in your home. With over 25 years in education and deep experience curating recipes, I'm your guide on the side, supporting you real-time, one-on-one in your kitchen, cooking up a good time. Let's go. Today we're gonna be making Bliss Bread. Originally this bread was called crusty white braids, and over the years, I found that name actually isn't very descriptive of the recipe, and we make this bread a lot in my family, and so I've renamed it Bliss Bread. This is my ancient copy of the bread. My mom transcribed the recipe to me over the phone when I was in college. And the first time she gave me the recipe, she forgot to tell me about the 2 eggs, which is why it's added in here. I made it without the eggs and it was not the pillowy goodness that I remembered. I can't wait to share this really versatile, delicious recipe with you. But seriously, this is how excited I am, for real. We start with 2 cups of warm water, then add 4.5 teaspoons or 2 packages of yeast and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now it's time to give that a nice whisk. And no, that's not how fast I whisk, but for the sake of time. Then tablespoon of salt, 1/4 cup of oil, vegetable oil, and 2 eggs. You gotta remember those eggs or it doesn't turn out the same. Then time for more whisking. You'll notice that I put on an apron here smartly because as I add the flour here with those first 2 cups, you're gonna notice that I always get some on me somewhere and I wipe it right on that apron so that it can collect all of the flour. Gonna add those first couple cups and give it a stir before we go on to add the rest of our flour. We're gonna add a total of 4.5 cups here at the front end and stir intermittently to get that all mixed in before we assess and get it out and begin kneading it and decide, does it need some more flour, does it not, and where to go from there. As you can tell, it takes a second to stir, just like it does to whisk. Then once we have it all incorporated in and it's all stirred up, gonna flour a surface and then begin to knead that dough. And there's lots of kneading needed for this recipe. As you can see, we add flour as we go, trying to get that right consistency for that bread so it's not too sticky, but it still has that soft pull to it, but it's not sticking to our board like you can tell the dough is still doing here for me. As you can see here, the kneading takes a while. I'm using a bench scraper in between to really unattach that dough from the board, continuing to add flour until that dough feels right. And we know that it's at that right consistency, that it's going to work for our bread and really make us the best possible product. Very happy I have on that apron as flour just, it tends to kind of get everywhere when you are working with flour. And boom, she's to the just right place. She's gonna sit and think about what she's done in this oiled bowl, which is covered. And bam, set it in a warm place until it's about double. Now we're gonna turn her out and go to town. I'm gonna take the dough, turn it out, and roughly shape it into 2 equal-sized pieces. They're about the same. Now we're gonna take each half and divide it into 3 pieces. I'm gonna kind of tuck under each of the 3 balls of dough from the 1/2 and check and make sure they're about equally sized. I'm gonna do this for both halves until I have 6 about equal pieces. Great, now we have these 6 pieces of about equally sized dough. You'll notice that over on the side, I have my pan lined with a silicone baking sheet. You can also use parchment paper. And I'm taking that piece of dough and I am just working it with my hands to elongate that piece of dough until it's about the same thickness all the way throughout the piece of dough. And it's almost going to be as long as the cookie sheet pan when it's first rolled out. So I'm gonna work that piece of dough, and when I've got it elongated to about that point, I'm gonna lay it on the pan as I work on the rest of my dough pieces to get them to do the same thing. Essentially, you're laying out these 3 pieces of dough, getting them ready to go through the braiding process. I'm just gonna watch. It takes a minute to kind of get that piece of dough to the right space and making sure that it's as extended as it needs to be without any parts that are sort of like more chunky than the other pieces. And you can see as it kind of dangles down, the edges get a little more thin than the middle. And so taking it and grasping it by the middle, working it down, trying to get it to be about, and I know you can't see a lot of this because I raised it up so high that it won't be hitting the rest of the dough balls, which causes you to miss some of it, but that's what it looks like. And you set it down and get ready to do the rest. Once you have your 3 pieces of dough laid out and elongated, you're gonna go ahead and press them together at the top of your cookie sheet. Then you are going to just braid your pieces of dough, trying to make sure that they're braided tightly, the same level of tightness all the way throughout the braid. Then when you get to the end, you're gonna sort of tuck in that butt end, just like you did the top, tuck them under, shape that dough. The dough is going to rise when it's in the oven, and it's going to hold about the same shape as it goes through the process. So you're gonna wanna make sure that it looks as pretty as possible before it gets to that place that it's ready to go in the oven, like this one is. And no surprise, you're gonna do the exact same thing with your other 3 pieces of dough, because this recipe makes 2 loaves of bread. Our braids are gonna go into the oven at 375 for 25 to 30 minutes. I set a timer for 15 minutes and switch them halfway through so that they get an equal baking time either on the more bottom rack or on the more top rack to make for perfect bread. There's nothing better than eating together around the table. Buen provecho. My favorite way to eat this bread is hot out of the oven, ripped apart with my hands, slathered with butter. It's also great for French toast and dipping in soups. I hope you enjoy.